Welcome everybody who's here for Poetry and Jazz. Feel free to bring chairs closer, get comfortable, get yourself a fresh drink. We got Tongo, Eisen-Martin right here. We got Dr. Andy Jones running around with the open mic list. If you want Dr. Andy to come to you, raise your hand, wave him down, get his attention. I don't see enough waving. Let's go. All right, I'm going to hand this over to Tongo.
I have a question about the open mic.
All right.
Thank you very much. Tough crowd, yeah, tough crowd.
We got each other. We got each other.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yeah, we got.
Let's do something, man. Follow my lead or I'll follow yours. I go to the railroad tracks and follow them to the station of my enemies. A cobalt-toothed man pitches pennies at my mugshot negative all over the United States. There are toddlers in the rock. I see why everyone out here got in the big cosmic basket and why blood agreements mean a lot and why I get shot back at. I understand the psycho-spiritual refusal to write white history or take the glass freeway, white skin tattooed on my right forearm, ricochet sewage near where I collapsed into a rat-infested manhood. My new existence as living graffiti in the kitchen with a lot of gun cylinders to hacked up. House of God in part, no cops in part. My body brings down the Christmas. The new bullets pray over blankets made from the old bullets. Pray over the 28 hours next beauty mark. Extrajudicial Confederate statue restoration, the waistband before the next protest post. Hey, by the way, time is just an illusion, Your Honor. I will save your deaths for last. You're a winner, Your Honor. You're moving money again, Your Honor. It's only rated one thing. Non-white cops and prison guard shadows reminded me of spoiled milk floating on the oil spill. A neighborhood making a lot of fuss over its demise. A new lake for a Black Panther party. Malcolm X's ballroom jacket slung over my son's shoulder. The figment of village. A new noose to a new white preacher, all in an abstract painting of a president. Bought slavery some time, didn't it? The tangent screeches of military boats and election Tuesday cars, a cold-blooded study in leg irons, proof that some white people have actually fondled nooses. That sundown couples made their vows of love over opaque piece plastic and bolt action audiences. The Medgar Evers segment is definitely my favorite law of science. Fondle news clippings and primitive Methodists, my arm changes imperialisms. Simple policing versus structural frenzies, elementary school script versus even wider white spectrums, artists bleeding in a challenge to watch a civilian state. Terrible rituals they have around the corner. They let their elders beg for public mercy. I'm gonna go ahead and sharpen these kids' heads in the arrows myself and see how much gravy spills out of family crest. Modern fans of war with their t-shirt poems and t-shirt guilt, and me having on the cheapest pair of shoes on the bus. I have no choice but to read the city walls for signs of my life. That was the sound check. Is the piano loud enough out there to y'all? Say it again. It's annoying.
The background
It's part of the point.
Oh, damn. Well, how was the quality of sound though?
Good.
It was good, it was cool. All right. Well, we're at the summit of the Poetry Summit. And man, we appreciate you all hanging with us, reading with us. You're in for some treats. I might say some poems later. But right now, first up to the microphone, Tierney. Is that how you say it?
Okay, well, thank you, Tongo, and the
San Francisco Writers Conference for this great venue. This is always the highlight of the conference for me. I'm going to read the... Okay, is that better? Okay. I'm going to read the title poem from my collection, The Poet's Garage. And this is based on a true story with a little bit of poetic embellishment. The Poet's Garage. When the policemen come to arrest me for forgery, I hide out in the garage where I learned how to write. My manual laid out on the bench. Words stacked around me like old tires. Pools of black grease where lines have spilled, staining the sawdust. I watch the detective study the house, his junky nose running. He anticipates my arrest and waits for my wife to come home from the library. He reads her the charge, how I forged checks in 3 counties. The name is right, but the description fails. The forger stands taller, pounds heavier, a different Smith. My husband looks like a mechanic, she says, and he's much older. I grin my toothless grin, holding a bucket of greasy words. A blue-suited sergeant refuses to believe her, saying I am both. Smaller and larger, older and younger, a mechanic and a smith. Look in the garage, she says. Modifiers hanging on nails, the cardboard box of active verbs. Files of proper nouns, no signatures remain. The author gone, only the spaces where he worked. They gather the spaces for evidence. I escape with a narrative, some of it leaking on the way, until my book breaks down in Pennsylvania. When my wife escapes and brings my tools, I begin to forge a new silence, a new name, a new library. Thank you.
Give up some more applause for Brother Tierney. I'm not going to be raising this up and down the whole evening. All right. And feel free to invite the band to join you. They are emotionally open to anywhere you want to go. Happy, sad. They say they do introspective as well. You know, they got a way for you. Okay. Next up to the mic, Sue Banerjee.
I have never done anything like this before. I'm in the presence of greatness, but poetry makes us fearless.
Yeah.
So this one is called Gun Lullabies. The mother kisses her daughter's crescent moon eyelids lined with sleep. She saves the lesson of playing dead for another night. How to dab spilled blood on the cheeks like blush, how to lie still until the shooter leaves satisfied with his kill. Peals of laughter and the smell of fried dough hang in the summer air like fireflies. A youth wins a teddy with his shot and takes his girl to the stall with a shiny new toy. It's a 3D printer, depositing layer by layer, forms of screws, clasps, and holders. He smacks his lips slick with the grease of fries. Can you print me a gun, he asks. Our friend has tweeted, I cannot go on, followed by 266 characters of anguish. We ring the hotline, Zoom about intervention. Should we call the police, wonders one. Oh, but he doesn't have a gun, says another. We lapse into an embarrassed silence, like it's the only thing stopping him. I'm going to read just one more. Undone. Hot air rises, crisping the edges of our Sunday meal. The chicken breast zested, basted in thyme butter, turns brown and taut. The evening wears out while we wait for the birds' juices to settle, like kissed lips, just pickled mangoes in the heat of summer. We flick aimlessly. The Cabernet tops off our dull pauses. I have too much soul, an old voice has told me, that doesn't fit in a square kitchen, cubicles, shops, couches. It hurtles towards darkness, spirals towards emptiness to be my undoing. Like the top button on a secretary's blouse in the office of a salacious boss, I come undone. I'm always coming undone.
Can we turn up the mic volume?
Yeah, I'll get it.
Give some more love to Sue. That was your first time on the mic, right? First time ever. Come on, give more. This is a birthday party in store. Check, check, check. Yeah, that sounds like it. Right. It is bad now. There might be something wrong with you.
Sit closer.
So next up to the mic, Ariana. Come on down.
Also my first time, so
Yeah.
be gentle. The last time always happens without us realizing. No?
Maybe we should turn it down.
We got, sorry. Just keep going.
Well, man, we don't make it right.
Just gonna down the back. There you go. Right.
Hello? Okay,
Okay.
let's do this. The last time happens without us realizing it's the last. Perhaps that's why last times leave us downcast. The sadness of not knowing the moment as it fades. For when I went searching for old murals we'd made, they'd long since been covered and changed. New people, new joints, from old memories estranged. Though the age of 20 we felt would never end. I can't go back to that youth, our street, both same for all intents. I don't long for those times, that place, because I want to relive our past. In that place where we won't gather again in parking lots amassed. I regret being able to say my final farewells. So to a time long past and people dispelled, and things already gone. A belated thank you and so long.
Right on, man. That was beautiful. Please, some more applause. Next up to the microphone, the boss. Give it up for Lisa Provost.
Thank you, Tongo. And I want to just give a big round of applause to Tongo for taking over the poetry track this year. He did such a fantastic job with it. And I could do other things. My job kept growing, and so I so appreciate you taking this over. I started writing poetry to take three-dimensional pictures of my children. So most of my poems are like that. And in my book, Diary of E.A. Provost, which also flips to Diary of That Weird Girl, I want to read one about my child and then a more recent one so you can kind of see the growth. A dimple is the devil's work. No harmless little facial quirk. It led my baby girl astray because she could always get her way. I don't need your money, Mom. She drops another info bomb, explaining for me, in her case, I can buy things with my face. It's been a few years since I wrote that one. And suddenly, this one is not coming up. That's what I need. There it is. 14 and radiant. A light not dimmed by isolation and plague. You may crawl into bed with me on a tough morning, but as the sun comes up, you haul yourself up by your aspirations and are closer to adult in your occupations than a mother wants to see. I indulge the last childish whims of my last child as they pass into memories that the adult you're becoming will hold as dear as I hold you now. "17 years ago today, I learned how deep love is. I learned how powerful I am. A piece of me became detached. Now it hardly needs me anymore, but I will always need you, dear. The bit of my heart that struts by in celestial pants and asks for pizza in the quad to share with friends."
Well, now you're gonna have to do better than that for the quarterback. The first team All-American. Next up, we have the illustrious Diane Franklin.
Thank you, Tongo. I have 2 poems to share. Might even share a third small one. This is cello lesson. It's for all of my music teachers. Down a flight of stairs on a snowy evening in Ashland by Lithia Park. He's playing Bach in the cheese shop as diners finish their brie, flatbread, soup, and wine. Some listening, some not. We sit on a stone bench for this moment, forgetting to order tea or an oatmeal cookie. We're here for the music, and when he plays the D minor Bach Sarabande by memory with his eyes closed, it opens my heart. Later, he flies into my dream, a yellow bird, singing high, rippling notes I can't follow on my cello. As the full moon shimmers the ocean, I hear him whisper, "Let all technique fly out the window into the salty waves, and from your heart, let that beautiful note fly." Emotions expand into vibrato, color, and light, a curtain of blue butterflies. The first note of the Papa Requiem, a meteorite falling into the ocean. And that perfect note I so desperately want and can almost feel in my body, swimming so deep inside me. It's something about the heart breaking open. My next poem is Turtle Island. In the Native American tradition, Turtle Island is the name of the planet we live on. Turtle Island.
What if the world was created by a giant turtle swimming across the sky at the beginning of time? What if the turtle carried dreams in her belly, giving birth to fish and stars? What if the high-flying tern marked the world lines of space and time with nets of aurora borealis? What if the donkey said, the humans are a joke, spinning through space, juggling fire and ice? What if the crab said, crawl sideways if you want to uncover the dreams that are painted inside of shells? What if the moon said, the night will tell you secrets if you listen to the music inside of stones? What if the shark said, you will discover fish that glow like lanterns in deeper currents of ocean water? What if the octopus said, your dreams are tentacles into a future filled with fish and golden apples? What if the turtle keeps swimming out of the sky to a universe hidden somewhere else? What if the buffaloes stampede with their ancestors across the Great Plains under an ocean of sky? Buffalo Woman says, the world is a dream or nightmare. Weave your visions with tender hands. And this is very short. It's a love poem I wrote for my husband before I met him. Iowa Omen. 3 hawks fly south as your voice trembles across the Great Plains. Fields of sleeping cows, a gentleness in the land. Here is the omen, sky splashed with aurora, blue stars, curtains of light. The letters are gold on red silk, Japanese calligraphy. If I had the right kind of ink, I'd write them on your skin.
That was off the hook. Please, some more. Did you want your did you want your mic cover back, or is this donated now to the cause?
I think that's on.
Right on. Okay, groovy. Next up to enjoy the mic cover, Jonathan Pazer.
Two poems from the far future. Drowned City Archive. From the old drowned city beneath these ruins, an archived, watertight alibi. An Underwood preserved, a veteran combat typewriter, machine gun of truth, where lies its spare ribbon ammunition in its gunmetal canister, sealed against enemy air and still fresh. A slim folio holds onion skin, inkless, unembossed by a compassion that tiny hammers might have forged. Bent, yellowed, a single sheet, cockeyed, rolled down in haste to squeeze off just 6 words. The last from the stalwart who bore this weapon to the fray, who discovered too late, ours is no war of words. And sticking to the future manual typewriter, the poem is called Search, Manual Typewriter. Null, search results returned 0.86 seconds. Your search, manual typewriter, did not match any documents. Search instead for manual labor. Suggestions, make sure all search terms are correctly spelled. Try different keywords. Try more general keywords. Regulatory disclosure. Your search history is recorded for your own protection by the internet service provider. By using this online search tool, you swear or affirm that your use of said internet service is in compliance with the United Church and State Doctrine of the United States of America, as established by the founders, Section 230.1 of the Communications Indecency Act, amended 2022. The network sweepers expunge fastidiously Remington, a word whispered in dark places, along with royal and the proverbial Underwood, all gone. I remember them though, a few among the many words that recall analog years, the paper world and the deleted tools of our forefathers. Deleted but not gone. Here it is in its innocuous leather case. It hides a tool of resistance so cunning, so dangerous, its very history had to be disremembered. A machine meant to strike black words onto white leaves of unmonitored cellulose, sheets that speak only to eyes within arm's length. A flimsy medium for solid words, free words, no digital overlord can delete. Every thin page sturdy enough to carry thoughts of freedom, punctuated with hope, air-gapped local storage, impervious to mass collection, electronically invisible, data negative, network free, a word machine powered only by fingertips and heart, non-self-correcting and never auto-corrected. Even the paper can be made at home. Imagine a world of unsurveilled ideas woven upon this loom, silently passing from hand to hand, mind to mind, father to son, daughter to gun. Thank you.
You all saw that you saw he knew that was a strong ending.
Yeah.
That's how you planted. Next up, Suzanne.
This is my first time too. So, if you guys
This is something.
I'm trying to let the musicians know I participate. Okay. So this is from my chapbook entitled May 25th, 2020, Minneapolis, Minnesota. It's called The Pavement Speaks, and it's the persona of the street on which George Floyd was murdered. The ground had been laid with a history of hate. Many times had my surface been paved over, gravel spread, packed firm by wagon wheels, and the boots of immigrants and workers hauling lumber from the mills in Minnesota's heyday, pulling carts of wheat from the fields to the flour mills under a promising blue sky that mirrored hope from the lakes scattered like gems around Minnehaha Creek. Oiled and rolled by metal drums back and forth, layer over layer, repairing what snow sweepers, then steel plows scraped off, then all that lay beneath, entombed with truckloads of wet, sticky concrete that hardened like oft-told fiction into semblance of fact. A pavement burying travesties and injustice that refused to stay quiet. For in the warming turn of seasons of May 2020, legacies seeped out, teased by the changing winds of society and unmoored by the turbulence above ground, a violent rumbling, the kind that looses the dead from their tombs to rise and haunt the streets, that turns the sky instantly dark and rents the curtain from top to bottom. My face cracked, and what escaped from the crevasses that spring were dark and shameful things, yet not secrets at all. A kind of filth emerged, like festering flesh and pus, like rotting, moldering, unnameable things, more stench than the gallons of horse and human excrement and urine and blood and chemical poison water that seeped in through my skin over the centuries and settled deep in the bed upon which I lay. No, this was the filth of man's soul, unerasable, a stain and a blight that devoured quicker and more thoroughly than the locusts that blew through 3 days in August and were gone. The loss counted, the fields replanted the next year, fingers crossed. No, this noxious gas had been brewing since all the way back to the early 1900s, when land developers wrote restrictive covenants into their deeds that prevented people with black or brown or yellow skin from owning property, even against federal law, even up until the fateful day in May 2020. My pavement bore the synchronous march of the Ku Klux Klan and shook from their hateful chants, and after the state passed a eugenics law in 1925, a local hospital sterilized nearly 1,000 people to ensure that they would never be able to have undesirable children. And of all places, Minneapolis was the site of corrosive anti-Semitism. Members of hate groups traversed my pavement, and the epithets they uttered would cause any grandmama to wash a child's mouth out with soap if she heard them even whispered. Maybe you're surprised at how much I know, but while history sleeps, it is not quiet. Under my surface, it's all there, and it tells a scathing story. So maybe you were caught unaware, startled by the detonation of events, of the fear, anger, yes, rage, all those emotions choking the streets. But I had felt the stirrings for a long, long time, the inevitable release, like a woman in labor pangs about to give birth, because the ground had been laid with a history of hate, and the cracks were caused by the weight of centuries of judgment, and not even the pounding of 1,000,000 feet, or the rolling of wagon wheels or steel drums, nor all the concrete in the world, spread and smoothed to look flawless and innocent, could keep all that quiet under the surface of my skin, truth be told.
That was beautiful. Please, some more applause. Now you want to. Next up to the mic, Pat Doing. Pat Doing. Going once, going twice. Oh, Pat. Yeah.
Uvalde, the lucky ones. Shots explode from somewhere. Is this real? Teacher hustles kids inside, locks the classroom door. Lights off. Kids have practiced lockdown, but this is not a drill. Hit the floor. Get under a desk. If you can't, shh. No shoving, no poking, no whispering. Hold still, be quiet. Pretend this is an empty classroom. The shooter breaks glass, sprays bullets through the window. Teacher is hit in the leg, makes no sound. Kids see her bleed. Freeze, too scared to whimper. A child also bleeds, grazed by a bullet. Clenches her teeth. The shooter hears no response, moves on. Time stretches. Every minute is endless. Darkness fills with breathing. Keep quiet. Hope he won't come back. Hope to get out of here alive. Hope friends are okay. Can't text, can't risk a light. Hope. Close by, sudden gunfire, shouts, screams, more shots. What is going on? Who got shot? A brother? A sister? A friend? In the dark, a child begins sobbing, but no one moves. He's out there somewhere.
he might come back. Time drags on. Why doesn't someone do something? Call the cops. Get that bad guy. Get us out of here. More shots. When will this end? Why is he shooting at us? Can't someone help us? Anyone? Anyone at all? That's Uvalde the Lucky Ones. And on a different note, dear Scam Likely, your devotion is heartwarming. My kids phone every Mother's Day or shortly thereafter, but you ring my cell phone several times a day to check on my welfare. My car, for example. I too have concerns about my '99 VW Bug. The upholstery is separating from both doors, and duct tape no longer holds it in shape. My headlights are dim, so I flash brights at night. And last week, I scraped the front end on a parking block and a fog light fell off. But you say the warranty is about to expire? You do know this is a '99 model, right? And you still care, bless your heart. You're also concerned about my student loan. Now in arrears and facing foreclosure. You're right. I'd hate to be hounded by creditors. Did you forget that several years ago I retired after 4 decades in the classroom? In my college days, there were no student loans, just scholarships, 2 or 3 part-time jobs, and a lot of macaroni. Nonetheless, it's kind of you to watch my back. Kind also to offer assistance with my credit card. So scary that I face being hauled off to jail for unpaid debt, perhaps debt incurred by hackers. If I give you my credit card number and security code, you will make threats and menace go away. Rescue me, guarantee peace of mind. Thank goodness you are so vigilant. My monthly statements are clueless. So, thank you for your unfailing solicitude. If there's ever anything I can do for you, just let me know. If I had your real name, your address, including country and continent, and your cell phone number, I'd return the favor.
Next up to the mic, Kate Adams.
Good evening. Elvis Presley, Memphis, 1951. He takes the blocks down 3rd to Beale. He needs some music. Jesus, he'll just stand outside some black folks bar where his white face has no appeal. His house, it's near, not very far from white to black. And yet he's barred from walking in, white boy alone. Still he hopes to hear a star or two, best he can do. He's combed his hair, he's shined his shoes, left home to come and hear the blues, his part. This juke joint's hoppin', voices honed so sharp they stab him in the heart. White boy dancing in the dark, fingers playing air guitar, full fire rising from these sparks. Las Vegas, 1977. His limo slides up, larva-like. Back door disgorges him, eyes glassed in from the flashing lights, limbs fat, his thinking thin. Assumes the pose a king commands, but then he's fallen on his hands and knees, his miseries gone public now. Nothing private, anyhow. He stands, he takes a woozy bow. He stumbles through show after show, forgets the lyrics he should know, lost innocent from Tupelo. He'll carry on until he's gone. Swan song.
Please, some more. Next up to the mic, Christabel.
So this is an old poem. About several years ago, I heard an Oakland poet speak, and I wrote. She inspired me. I went home and wrote a poem and came back, but I haven't had a chance to read it, so I thought I would. It's a thank you letter to Joyce Lee, an Oakland poet. We have needed your poetry around our kitchen table, where my daughter and nieces gather to eat last night's leftovers and find answers for why their lives are different, for being black and brown. What part of the American dream should be denied them? Is it the part where they simply get to shop freely, not followed by a sales clerk, because, she tells them, they look Mexican? They're dressed in a light t-shirt and shorts, carrying a wallet, and only 12 years old. And not Mexican as if that makes it any better or worse than being African or Asian or mixed. Does the shop somehow expect that they will use their brown wiles to hide stolen goods in plain sight? Or is denial the part where they're held down by the police while their white friends sit on the curb after a prank, toilet paper at a friend's house? Or when the white lady kicks them off the court, the tennis court she prefers to use, ignoring their game in progress, their polite refusal, and calls the police, or threatens to. And their white auntie is furious. Furious that the kids left quietly without a fuss, that they did not speak up and demand their rights. She is momentarily forgetting that if the police had come, the white lady would have gotten the sympathy of the authorities while the brown kids were reprimanded at best. Their white auntie knows if they had called her in time, she could have come and successfully faced off the mean white lady, because she is one too. And that's how it works for now. Though I know how to play the game like a white lady, and I want a longer outcome than a single battle won, I'm angry and meaner than any bitch when my girls have been threatened. My nieces know this. We all know this. But it makes none of us comfortable around the table. That discomfort forces us into awareness. And though we are driven to make it different, we can forget that we are black and brown and white. We cannot ignore that we are black and brown and white, thanks to Pat Parker. Denial does not make it easier. Denial does not make it easier when we have different privileges in the same house. That's why we need your poetry, Joyce Lee, and let's see what we can do with it. Thank you.
I'm too tall to be an open mic host. Yeah, that's right. That would solve it. Next up, the man, the myth, the legend, Andy Jones.
I figure we should take advantage of these great musicians standing behind the stage. I think that needs some guitar too. Do you want to add something to what we have going on there? I'm no wilting flower. I can be overheard despite the music. We're lucky to have some jazz musicians here. We were lucky also, those of us who attended the poetry track, to hear from Tongo Eisen-Martin on a number of occasions. I wrote down a bunch of quotations when I was enjoying his morning session. He talked about John Coltrane as a possible influence for poets, the step towards a love supreme. I thought of that great poem by Michael S. Harper, Dear John, Dear Coltrane, title poem of a 1970 book of poetry. As I was thinking about that, and as I was thinking about a question that Tongo was asked about, how do you bridge the gap between your political life and your poetic life? And if you pay for the recording, you'll hear Tongo say something to the effect of, oh, they're intermingled all the time. There's no gap there. So I was thinking about the bridge between. But I remember this poem I'd written, which is perfect for the occasion. It includes 2 stolen lines from Suzanne by that great poem that we heard about 15 minutes ago. Should probably be the only one who notices. A bridge between, a bridge between, a bridge between. Stretch your scarred blue arms out to me, city evening, hopes made of pavement. Little somethings, let's call them pills, were spilled across the tiles in the hotel bathroom, stinging with farewells. A bridge between. The vacant lot has been sprayed, and now nothing grows, even in the cloudless sun. Children play on a circus-colored apparatus, black rubber standing in for wood chips, interlocking puzzle pieces held down by steel. The balls, the toddlers, they bounce back up. A bridge between. West is west, but there isn't any farther to go. Choked and dry, our rivers just can't fend off the rising salt tides of summer. Delta reservoirs turning brackish, the damp cisterns promising only subterranean echoes, earthen dams with all the concrete in the world, not enough to protect us. We are too late for the bypass. No one wants a tunnel under their school or cemetery, a bridge between. The tree's roots have given up hope and have let go, such that contract arborists recommend that the homeowners sell. If you vacation too long, the mud scrap pirates will have salvaged the copper tubing and pipes, $4 a pound, more if it shines. The trees are a facade, the illusion of forest left behind to reassure the last of us who can still afford to drive the interstate. A bridge between. This close to the processing plant, the air is a waft of discolored dust. We eye the local eggs suspiciously. Like wary oracles, we check the packaging, interpreting misfortune in shells too hard or too brittle. A double-yolked egg in the pan means no chance no chance for twins, and everyone plans to take Social Security at 62, a bridge between. I talk to pensioners who hope to be gone by the time scientists discover the new local fault line. They can feel the coming slippage in their bones. They can also feel kitchen windows shake this close to the tracks, saying, "We used to wait until at least noon for this much glare. We used to make coffee with tap water. Now every sentence and every drink requires a filter. While history sleeps, it is not quiet. A bridge between, at least the dog seems happy to sit at my feet, hoping for table scraps, even a bit of spilled coffee. We have just the one between us, she and I, so every day I wash her metal water, trowel, bowl. Sometimes I joggle it. I joggle it a little to drive her to drink. It gleams like nothing else in California, a bridge between. I'm sure lovers are holding each other in mountains and in deserts on summer afternoons without getting into trouble, except in their own hearts, knowing that at some point the beats will slow and end, their secrets gnawing at them like whatever slows and kills. No one wants to be a nemesis, a bridge between. For decades, the old man has kept a knife in his bathrobe pocket, it threatening to come out like a scandal, the honed blade abrading the terry cloth, sometimes with an inadvertent pinprick that keeps him primed like a cocked crossbow, the fletch of feathers providing anachronistic confidence even before his first cup of coffee, a bridge between. So much must be accepted with calm, like the loss of the setting sun on a flat sea that stretches out for innumerable leagues. At night, lonely sailors debate whether the dancing lights ascend from below, descend from on high, or travel laterally, like the dreamed visits of their lost loves. Long echo the plaintive songs of the breaching whales. Thank you.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And you know where I get from. Is this mic on?
Yeah.
This is gonna be the big people microphone. And if my memory serves me correct, next on the mic is Randall McNair.
All right, this is my least favorite part about being a poet, is having to read my stuff in front of all y'all, but I'm gonna give it my best shot. Hopefully I don't pass out. I'm gonna read you a couple poems from my first book of poetry called Dispatches from the Swinging Door Saloon. This first one is called If I Were Mayor. If I were mayor, I would draft an ordinance making you my only citizen, and I would appreciate you so much that I would never tax you, and I would let you ride around town in the fire truck, sirens on. I would make sure the diner downtown had a ham sandwich named after you, and every weekend there would be a parade in your honor, and you would ride around on the back of an old DeSoto convertible and wave. But the car would have to drive itself because I would be marching alongside, banging a big drum or showing off on horseback while doing rope tricks and playing the harmonica. At dusk, I would play the U-Spangled Banner on my trumpet, and at nightfall, I would launch fireworks into the sky. And we would sit there together for hours, holding hands and sipping mojitos in rocking chairs on the porch of an old mansion as the bunting rustles in the gentle breeze and the fireflies come out to mate. And you, having been properly honored, would tell me you loved me, lighting a fire in me that would burn so bright God himself would be forced to wear shades as he sits in his lawn chair and smiles, having very much enjoyed our show. Thank you. And this next one is called Absorbing the Local Culture. She suggested we try to absorb the local culture, so I cut a long slit across my belly and began shoving in small children in ancient vases, and assorted old ladies and their various tea parties, and their flowery porcelain teacups. And I would wait until the stomach acid had cleared room, and I would add local sports teams and clergymen and tuba players. And I put the mayor in there, and I absorbed him down to his last $300 shoe. And I absorbed that too. And then my girl said something rude, so I shoved her in there with an angry manhandling. And now I am very knowledgeable about the ways of this place, even as my loneliness swells and my stomach grows awfully upset. Thank you.
Not bad, man. Thank you. There you go. Some more. Next to the microphone, Gene Powell.
Oh, too close. Yeah. Okay, how's that? All right. I'm going to read two pieces about two very different women. You can hear me? Yeah. Okay. Remember that day at the races when my horse won against all odds? And I bet on him because he reminded me of my grandfather's thoroughbred in the Great War. You never brought me flowers, and I felt like a champion that day as the crowd roared, and I expected, yes, I realize now I expected a bouquet of yellow roses. There is a man who talks to me when I walk in MacArthur Park near the Swans. He brings me flowers. We speak of many subjects, and he never fails to offer daisies or tulips or dahlias as the season dictates. That time I said I was going to visit cousin Lydia because she felt blue after the death of her fourth husband. I lied. She took me to a doctor across the border, and he fixed things so I never have to bear another child of yours. And that third child I gave birth to, you never brought me flowers then either. The third child you love so much, his biological father actually is the milkman, you know, the butter and egg man, a man who understands sweet spots and magic moments. Keep the house. I'm taking the cottage in the south of France. If you fight me, I'll find a way to reclaim that condo you bought for your teenage mistress in Brooklyn. Brooklyn? Really? You should have done better. This is a very different woman. A front door closes without a sound. A woman is leaving her family and does not want to wake the children. Her husband died a month ago, and now is the time for her to bolt for freedom while she still has a chance. She is not heartless. After all, she's taking the toddler with her. The other three are old enough to live in real time. She had to run away from home when she was 16, and she has to run away now. She put in her time for so many years, factories and restaurants, cooking, cleaning, giving birth to 4 children, enduring loneliness and frustration because neighbors in the Great Lakes did not like her East Coast ways. Her time was now. Moving quietly the way she does, She filled the house with chicken roasting and biscuits baking. Her silences grew deeper. She dreamed of a life on the West Coast where you could hear the ocean roar. The children were sleeping now, deep in their dreams. Yet even in their sleeping moments, the young ones could feel her leaving them long before the morning sunlight, long before the front door opened and closed. Thank you.
I guess we do have a little obstacle course going here. With next up to the mic, Emily Jane. Or not. It's okay, because coming to save the day is Christina.
All right, I'm Christina. And so this is a form of poetry which, no, I did not invent. A friend of mine actually did. They came up with it on Facebook. This is Wordle poetry, where we get together with a group of people and you agree to play Wordle every day for a month and then write a poem using all of your guesses and then whatever the word is. So every day for the month of May, I would play Wordle and then write one of these poems. So I've got a collection of 31 Wordle poems. And so I'm going to read, they're all very short. I'm going to read a couple of my favorites. Right. Oh, great stage before me, props of lumber roped above in the rafters, the globe's own timbers fashioned on the mighty sawhorse. You call to me each week. My forage I forgo, slipping away from the bellows to tend the fires of mythic human souls. Gilded gala of mirage, gowns with trains, suits with canes and top hats, the 20s again. We watched celluloid idols in an age of prosperity by proxy, before the speculation reached crash. Women pushed towards liberty with new votes and tenuous rights, as European nations prickled with tension, lurching towards war. As we dreamed of new technology, imagined endless promise, floating through the gauzy veil between yesterday and today. Bonfire on the beach, no one with a badge to tell us to put out the fire. The fizzle of cider down our throats, and the taste of barbecue mixed with sea and sand. Gulls call. Plover's wings caress the width of the coastline. We stay gathered around the flames until the tides come back in, until the wood transmutes to ash, until it is time for even the midst of the crowd to disperse, as the darkened fog descend, extinguishing the crackling fire of our gathering. Sunday evening. I yield to my urge to hike the river delta. Egret's wings caress the sky, seeking small mammals and fish, and plovers and sandpipers delve into the silt, probing for insects and crustaceans. Tadpoles and minnows flick about the water, thick with algae and soil, and pickleweed clumps by the side of the dirt and sand trail, tempting my fingers to grab some to taste, as the naturalist instructed me as a child at the visitor center. The aroma vacillates between barbecue and unclean fish tank, reflecting a variety of inhabitants of many species and their detritus. We leave shells behind, as the hermit crabs do, from meals, gatherings, and days we have outgrown. Other crabs take over the shells the crabs leave behind, in a complex exchange based on their size, until everyone in the crab group has a home. Will the next generation take up the interests I have tossed aside with time? Are my tastes, hobbies, and values gifts from others who wanted to pass them on, or ill-fitting cast-offs? How do I leave behind a solid calcium carbonate shell to nurture the soft bodies of the next generation, rather than paper plates and cups tossed on the lawn and blown by the wind?
Next up to the mic, Karma Bennett. Karma.
Okay, I've been told that this poem's disturbing, so if you feel called out, it's not about you, it's about me. This is called The Superfluous Class. Risk, to us, is just a game we play in rooms perfumed with smoke, soaked in Nag Champa, woke women pushing pawns, playing war. We joke. Every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings. Far away, a denser smoke, provoked by kings we cannot name. Far away from military attaches, the hills are alive with the sound of shrapnel splintering. In the startled ear of night, bells ring for faraway angels. It hurts us to think about that. So we have a toke and think of other things. In our leisure, we alphabetize our collections. In our leisure, we covet catalog clothes from our counterculture of choice. In our leisure, we crochet cashmere. In our leisure, we pray and hope, our toes digging into air-conditioned carpets. In our leisure, we scrub our feet soft and mask our pores smooth. In our pleasure, we picnic in parks, drinking sake on tidy lawns, tasting safely shrink-wrapped things. In our leisure, civilians get their wings. But we are beyond the velvet rope. All we hear is the dance club's bass, bass, bass. In our leisure, so far from warships, but the TV man with the pretty face jokes about it, so we know the bells ring and the kids in cages don't get clean clothes and the polar ice drips and hope is an over-the-counter drug. So we fill our journal sheets with political poems, our poison quills sheathed in plastic comfort grips. We see the spectacle, and the spectacle sees us. They had us at hello, branded before birth. Did you know babies recognize Ronald McDonald? That's true. We gave them our hearts and they gave us a pin that said make love, not war. We take our news with the left track toggled on. Politics pre-packaged to please us. Babies recognize Ronald McDonald. Babies recognize Ronald McDonald before Jesus. It's true. We complain most that our Wi-Fi is throttled. Perfect screens free us to endless splendors. The screens debate whose rack was fondled by which outrageous geezer. Our perfect screens, black men are pommeled, so we debate nuances of bigotry over gin rickies. The spectacle woos us. Our selfies show the true us, miserably fidgety for clickies, enticing our stupor for the victory of publicity. The bloopers glue us while we the snoopers timidly view us. In infancy, we know Mickey D before Jesus. Perfect screens show hurricane weather and maps of collapse. Paradise burned to hell. Canada's a week's ride, but what the cold would do to us. Not for long, a woke joke, proving a few of us know the haps on the unfolding ecocide. There. We've done our part, got our Che Guevara-ties on us. We voted, and in civility, we wait. We voted, and that frees us to toke up in the Prius as state troopers see right through us. We settle in for years more of watching outrageous politicians on debate stages promote some gimmicky tax on the lower class. 4 years more of faraway bombs and nearby kids in cages. We swear it enrages us as organic tea flows through us. We trade facts and stats and jokes on red caps. We reflect on Germany, 1934. All acts against fascism are revolutionary. All other acts are just superfluous. Where do we stand? Or do we just sit furiously knitting Chanel pussy hats? We take to the streets with pre-cut posters to pressure transgressors or sever aggressors or whatever, while cops tease us with tasers, but don't let them seize us or we won't get tenure. We're worried about war and we're worried about wrinkles. We wake from sun-drenched naps, recalling nightmares of hydrogen bombs, but it was just a truck passing near us. I read the headlines and cry. I read the headlines and cry just a little. I read the headlines and cry, but then the corporate radio machine plays that jam with the hand claps and my foot taps, and I dance in the sweet, happy-faced sunshine that is melting the polar ice caps.
Right on. See where a little wordle takes you. Opens things right up. Next to the mic. Next to the mic, Bob Hoff.
Evening, everyone, and I hope it's okay. In lieu of poetry, I have a short novel excerpt. It's 1993. A young pianist is trying to work his way into the LA music scene, and he's just come from his first film score recording session. After the recording session ended, the pianist drove his Ford pickup through the hot, late afternoon Los Angeles sun to the Hollywood post office. He collected his meager mail and cruised down Vine Street to the Musicians Union. Once inside, he deposited his check at the Musicians Credit Union ATM, transferring more than half to his savings account. Then he scanned the bulletin boards. Nothing of interest today. He spotted some acquaintances in the lobby and chatted them up and mentioned the day's film score session, and he could tell they were impressed. That was good. Other musicians knew he was working, at least today. It was the conundrum of the musician's life. If you were seen as working and hireable, more gigs came your way. If you weren't getting any gigs, people assumed there was a reason, and your phone rang rarely, if at all. Often there were reasons. Some of the musicians who tried to work in LA just weren't good enough. Some had talent, but also had raging egos to match. Some had poor work habits. Others had substance abuse issues or other problems that derailed their otherwise promising careers. He drove out of the Musicians Union parking lot, down Vine Street, then made a right onto Santa Monica Boulevard, where he reached an Arco gas station. They had a deal some union members wryly called the Musicians' Power Lunch, 2 hot dogs for 99 cents. The pianist bought 2, along with a bag of peanuts, an apple, and a copy of the LA Times. Then he asked for the key to the men's room. He set the food on the seat of his pickup and picked up a steel canteen. Once inside the men's room, he filled the canteen with water from the sink. Back in his car, he contemplated the question he asked himself every evening, the question that always brought a sour feeling to his stomach. Where to now? Finding a place to park his car and to sleep without being hassled was the worst, toughest part of his current life. You might be able to find a quiet side street in a residential neighborhood, but it was tricky. Shopping centers were deserted at night, but a lone vehicle was too obvious. He'd slept for a couple of nights in a library parking lot, but a policeman rapped him awake one morning. He got by with just a warning and never returned. Night after night, he slept with one eye open, hoping no one would roust him awake with rough raps on his windshield, or break into his car while he was sleeping, pull a gun, and take what little he had. Above all, he wanted to avoid parking his car anywhere in the San Fernando Valley. Most of the working musicians lived in the valley. He did not want to run the risk of another musician spotting him sleeping in his car. This night was different from most. He picked up a good-sized check from the recording session and could afford to splurge. For a moment, he considered a motel, but decided even the cheapest were too pricey. Instead, he decided on the long-term parking lots at LAX. Nothing at all suspicious about a car, one of many, left overnight in one of those lots. Besides, the price wasn't too bad if you only stayed one night. It was worth it to get a night of almost guaranteed uninterrupted sleep. The money he saved would go into his savings, and, he hoped, toward his goal of 6 months' rent for an apartment or even a decent room. He took the usual route, west on Santa Monica Boulevard, toward the setting Los Angeles sun, then south on the San Diego Freeway, which, as usual, was packed solid with cars during the evening commute. He spent an hour inching south until he finally came to the exit for the first of many long-term airport parking lots. He pulled into the first lot, took the ticket, and drove down several rows until he found a space between an enormous pickup with a camper shell and a full-sized van. His little Ford Falcon pickup practically disappeared between the two massive vehicles, which was exactly what he wanted. He chowed down on the hot dogs, the apple, and the peanuts, then read his mail and the LA Times. Harrison Ford's new movie, an updated version of the Fugitive TV show, got rave reviews. The new president, Bill Clinton, was taking heat from the Republicans. The pianist knew that Clinton played jazz tenor saxophone, and he was pulling for Clinton. By the time he finished reading the paper, dusk had fallen on the parking lot. As so often happened, a wave of depression washed over him. The desolate parking lot resembled an asphalt desert, lifeless, impersonal, and, despite the Los Angeles sun, cold. The sight and sound of airliners taking off and landing, each full of happy people who could afford the airfare, who were flying off to business meetings or vacations or family get-togethers, and his life was reduced to this, to sleeping inside a 30-year-old Ford. Been almost 7 months now, he thought. Never thought it would last this long. Don't know how much more of this I can take. He forced the depression aside. Enough of that, he said. Stop feeling so goddamn sorry for yourself. You had a good day getting hired for a film score and earning a healthy paycheck. That check will go a long way toward the goal. So stop whining and get yourself more gigs like that one, and you won't have to live like this any longer. He covered the windshield, the side windows, and the rear window with cardboard sunshades. He yawned and reached for the threadbare blanket that covered the back seats, pulled it up to his shoulders, and wound it around his torso. The pianist lay flat on the seat, his head on the passenger side and his legs folded, and was asleep in a few moments.
Right on, see? You all have been colonizing the big people microphone. This is you right here. Manipulate this one. Next up to the mic, Renee Nelson.
So I gotta say, Karma's got her shit together. That shit was good. I'm serious. That was a good poem. It was really good. She got me. I was excited. I got 2. Evolution. Where to begin with what you've seen. Lemon-throated finches exist in your memory, although you're not exactly sure if you simply watch someone light a homeless man on fire while he slept on the Vatican steps, or if their throats distracted you out of Spoke's way. You're not sure what law this breaks. Its creation is in the breaking. Design arrives in the shocking. The hollow bones occur for the flying. You remember the sly descent of yellow on wind ignited the eternal flame in the man's smoldering chest cavity. Hollowed his bones, heaped feathers in his shoulder blades, adapting for his ascent from the manicured plaza to break God's goddamn door down. I got one more, and I'm not sorry. Cock blocker. Why'd the feminists cross the road? To suck my dick. My tweaker boss at Sign Pro, circa 1997. Past participle my ass. Nouns are so post-colonial. We go around pointing and naming things as if some dude in charge said, go out and name things. Snake, apple, vagina, rib, property. She goes on Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig counts points for her mayonnaise, and her Alice still looks fat in those jeans. Wouldn't it be nice if we could shave a little off every day with a potato peeler? This isn't a question so much as a union dispute. A sliver of skin and blood on the linoleum. A coat hanger. Oh, did I hurt your feelings? We want them to hold our bodies like a six-pack. We want to laugh because bare feet are so funny. We want the disorders and all the potential cures for them. We want obsessions with our mental side orders, antidepressants that sound like home planets. We want to be Zoloftians from the planet Zoloftia. We're at war with the Pexalians and the Prozacans, Ambians and the Anabins. Tomorrow will be a better day. I can bleed for 5 days on an app and not die. Men are from Mars, women are from vagina. Receding hairlines transform the mundane to iconic, to ironic. Adam called. He wants his algorithm back. I'm not your vending machine, whether you want me to or not. Whether, maybe. There's a little bit of tweaker in all of us. Inside each and every boy and girl is a bike thief waiting to happen. A scrounger, a paranoid flea market vendor selling cell phone car chargers, a boss who slips lesbian porn, into your locker at work. Pop rocks today, meth tomorrow. You think I'm joking? Your bike called. There's a little bit of burqa in all of us. A bait and switch inside each and every vagina, like a vending machine waiting to happen. Excuse me, ma'am, you dropped your tits. How funny is that? JK, oh, ha, ha, how funny, oh, how God. I've become a vending machine.
Some more, please, for Renee. Important information has been brought to my attention. The bar is closing in 15 minutes. Well, probably less now since the time I got that message. So you might want to get on over there. All right. Next up to the mic, Peter Dudley.
I thought you were going to play Eye of the Tiger. I thought you were going to play Eye of the Tigers a while ago. Evening. I got two short ones tonight. First one is called Relics. It rests in the rolling shallows, this boat that once had a name and a worthy purpose, bumping against its crumbling dock in the absent-minded rhythm of the water's eternal rise and fall. Cracked and clouded windows stare at us with a vacant scowl, like marbled eyes in the rest home when other people's grandchildren tiptoe past the open door. You and I meander the trampled grass, reminisce around rocky inlets, taste the spiced breeze of low tide. We stroll along the polished train tracks, their shiny new gravel peppered with discarded rust-crusted spikes. This one is called Sunrise. As I push the blinds open, they clack, 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 like empty boxcars rolling. And I think of the lonely tracks beside the highway, in the autumn mountains, after the colors but before the snow, when we shared the whiskey and created stories together. We occupied a temporary space, somewhere between innocence and irretrievability, between summer and winter, where the anticipation of parting pricked at my heart, even as the mountain winds, worn pale from their long journey from summer, reached across the porch to rustle through your hair, which glowed ember red in the morning sunshine. Thank you.
Right on, good stuff. Next up, Joy Schwartz. Jay, sorry. That is an A, isn't it? Sort of.
My penmanship's not that great, I think. Oh, there's no strap? Yeah, that's fine. No worries. All right, it's been a long time since I've sung in front of people I don't know, so I should give you fair warning. My voice is pretty much Leonard Cohen and Bob Dylan ate razors and got a cold, so we'll see how we do. You know what, I will take that chair, actually. I think if I sit right here, it'll be pretty close. All right, that'll do. All right, I'm going to do two for you. One you might know and one you definitely don't, so if you know, please join in. Well, somewhere in the Black Mountain Hills of Dakota, there lived a young boy named Rocky Raccoon. One day, his woman ran off with another guy. Hit young Rocky in the eye. Rocky didn't like that. Said, I'm gonna get that boy. So one day he walked into town, booked himself a room in the local saloon. Well, Rocky Raccoon, he checked into his room, only to find Gideon's Bible. Well, Rocky had come, equipped with a gun, to shoot off the legs of his rival. His rival, it seems, had broken his dreams by stealing the girl of his fancy. Well, her name was McGill, but she called herself Lil, but everyone knew her as Nancy. She and her man, who called himself Dan, were in the next room at the hoedown. Well, Rocky burst in, grinning a grin. He said, Danny boy, this here is a showdown. But Daniel was hot. He drew first and shot, and Rocky collapsed in the corner. Rocky said, Doc, it's only a scratch. and I'll be better, Doc, as soon as I am able. Well, a rocky raccoon, he fell back in his room, only to find Gideon's Bible. Well, Gideon checked out, and then left it, no doubt, to help with good Rocky's revival. Yeah, yeah, do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do. Come on, Rocky boy, do-do-do-do-do. Come on, Rocky boy, do-do-do-do-do-do. I'm sorry, Rocky, that you died. With apologies to Paul, John, George, and William.
Jack, you would not believe this. But we have to make sure that your next song is an original.
It is. Oh, for copyright purposes.
Because ASCAP is on us right now.
I'm sorry. Next song is definitely an original. Also, funnily enough, starts in A minor. But yes, this one's original. If I can remember it. I put on my painted smile to go to the party that you wanted me to go to, but I didn't want to go because I didn't want to put my painted smile on. I kept on my painted smile while we were at the party that you wanted me to go to, but I didn't want to go because I didn't want to put my painted smile on. Now it's wavering. I have got to get out of this nightmare before I explode. I kept on my painted smile while we were at the party that you wanted me to go to, but I didn't want to go because I didn't want to put my painted smile on. Now we're arguing. I have got to get out of this nightmare before I explode. I can't take it much longer. I ripped off my painted smile while we were at the party that you wanted me to go to. Told them what I thought because I couldn't find a way to keep my painted smile on. True story. And thanks to Marilyn for the guitar. Thank you.
Keep it going. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Did you dig it, Randall?
I did, yeah.
Randall dug it, Jay.
Thank you.
Next to the mic, Sadie Miller.
This is awkward. Okay. Sure. That kind of.
my first time doing this off of Zoom, so we're real people. That's cool. It's going well. Here we stand, strides from another world, or right between two. I've never been engulfed by so much noise without wanting to scream it away. It shouts for me. That single wave is my heart tenfold. There's nothing left to say. Here the sun is an artist, breathing yellow, green, and blue into the endless battlefield of water. It must end somewhere out of sight. Warmth is ripped from the light. Wind steals it away with my senses, sends it all tumbling, and every inch of skin screams for the layers I toss away. I want the violence in my hair, around my waist, make my body feel like nothing, a disaster of butterfly wings, seconds from flying. The sand is dark in the sea's ceaseless caress, smooth, worn down, ancient and fresh. I could dig my bare feet in deep. I could trace shapes with my fingers, leave claw marks, write help, take me, release me. Manuscripts of always and nevers. And within moments, it's like I was never there, and it's all clean and so messy. Sea foam clings to the gale, shattered to mist like stars collapsing in empty space. Seagulls play games with the waves as if a single mistake won't make a guillotine. Such a big thing just from above, and right below, the chaos and unbound realm of quiet. Thank you.
Groovy. Next up to the mic. Is this an inside job? Provost.
All right. Oh, even the short mic is too tall for me. Fun. I'm actually not reading a poem because I don't like writing poetry. I am a poetry editor though, so there's a reason I'm here. I have an excerpt from my juvenile fiction novella. Oh, I'm gonna read the first 2 paragraphs and then skip to the beginning of the second chapter. There was an orphan who had all the necessary qualities to be an orphan. His parents were even gone, though where he did not know. He was a smart orphan who knew all the timetables and could spell well and many other words. He was 12 years old and had hair on his head and eyes in his face, hands at the ends of his arms and feet on the ends of his legs. And on those feet, he always wore a pair of shoes. This orphan, he was called Orhan, and Orhan was orphaned in a fantasy world. We love fantasy worlds. Orhan's only fiends were little fire demons that lived in the fireplace in the Grand Library. His only friends were the books from the same library, although they didn't actually like Orhan very much. And now I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. He gets sent on a quest to collect an overdue library book, and along the way he meets the cat, who is only mentioned at the end. After a while, the sun slowly set, and Orhan decided to search for food and firewood before the sky went completely dark. With the help of the cat, he managed to find a decent helping of wild strawberries and bubble root vegetables. Now, as those of you reading likely don't live in the same fantasy world as Orhan, allow me to describe to you these unfamiliar food items. A strawberry is not a berry made of straw. It is actually a bright red, vaguely conical, aggregate accessory fruit in the rose family, and wears its seeds on the outside. It varies in size from as small as a coin to as large as a very large coin. Strawberries taste sweet when ripe, but if you pick them too early, they have a bit of a sour kick to them. You probably already know what a bubble root vegetable is, but just in case, I shall describe that too. Bubble root vegetables grow in, around, and under the roots of bubble trees, which have blue leaves and grow in the ground, and grow round purple fruits with shiny skin called bubble fruits. Bubble root vegetables are not technically even related to bubble trees, except that like bubble trees and all plants with blue leaves, bubble root vegetables prefer salt water to fresh water. But they stubbornly refuse to grow anywhere else. They are perfectly round with smooth pink skin about the size of a clenched fist,
and the most common method of cooking them is to spear them on a stick and roast them over a fire as one would a marshmallow. A marshmallow is a medicinal concoction in the mallow family designed to treat sore throats in children who would not eat the bitter herbs on their own. This was how Orhan cooked them to eat his first night on the road. As it so happened, bubble root vegetables were Orhan's favorite food. They tasted something like a potato. If you don't know what that is, there's no hope for you. But with the natural saltiness that potatoes didn't possess, and when roasted over a fire, the skin became nice and crispy while the inside slowly softened into mush. When the bubble root vegetable was done cooking, Orhan liked to bite into it and savor the texture of the savory insides and the crunch of the shell. The deliciousness of the bubble root vegetable was such that Orhan could almost ignore the presence of the newly spawned fire demon that had sparked from his campfire and the sickening crunch of mouse bones as the cat feasted upon its own meal.
Right on. Next up, please, some applause for Susan.
Hello there. I have a short poem that I'm reading because the poet laureate in one of our sessions today said we should all take every opportunity to participate in poetry readings. This is The Candle Speaks. You plucked me from a display, looked at my bottom, sniffed the way a dog checks out another. You read the label, hoping it said soy. Pero no soy. Soy wax, probably paraffin, a petroleum product. If you had known, would you have put me in the cart? Yeah, my gestation lasts eons. But you still like me, don't you? You like my shade, pale sage. You're fond of shady things. Dappled sunlight teasing through branches, waving their leafy fingers. I heard you sigh when you caught my scent. Notes of vanilla and amber. I'm stout and tall, for a candle that is. I'll make a stately figure when you set me on that green glass dish. You like me. You really like me. You'll light my wick, watch my flame, take in the ambiance I create. Do you have a lover? When I burn, remember this. I'm not renewable.
I have a request. All of the cool people in the back there, all you cool people, the provosts and the other ones, and you cool people down there too. Come, let's come on up to the front. You know? We stuck with each other. Let's stick all the way together. Right on. All right. Appreciate you. Looking good, looking sharp. Good. Right on. Bring the energy together. All right. Oh man, that's the highlight. Man. Next up, Matthias. There you go.
All right, hello everyone, good evening. So I'd just like to start off by saying what I'm about to read I read when I was in an office job that I hated, trapped inside. So that's where this is coming from. And then also I'd like to say, throughout life, I think there's two things that connect everyone. It's pain and love. Those are two things that all connect us together. And slam poetry and just poetry in general was one thing that really connected to me when I was really depressed in an office job that I didn't like, and brought me out of the dark places. So that's when I wrote this. And this is my first time reading in front of people, so it's on the bucket list. So thank you. Why can't you see the cage? They call it a city, when really it's an enclosure. Set schedule, 8-hour days, 5 days a week. Cattle prodded along, waiting to become meat. When did life become concrete and steel beams? Paper valued over time. And as long as we stay in line, the only place we're truly free is in our minds. But you don't dare speak it. It could cost your job. So just wear your smile and pretend that it's all okay. So long as you get 3 square meals a day. Right? Why fight? Just take the pills and numb the depression. Maybe pay for another therapy session. Then it will all be okay. After all, we get to live in our cage for another day. And that's the first piece. And this one ends on a brighter note, so I want to read this one. They're both short. Living in a matrix of voluntary servitude, where rights are diluted only to serve the few. It's like walking through life amongst the dead, watching corpses wade through rot, not a second thought in their head. Like a flock of birds whose wings have been clipped, then packed into crates until they're shipped to an island with beautiful sights and an open sky. But when they arrive, they have forgotten what it is to fly. This is what happens when too many become complacent with lies, separated for too long from their roots and their ties. These are the thoughts which haunt the gray, and still the will to seize the day. But we have to fight the tide and be the change, or continue living in a world deranged. That's it.
Fuck yeah. So we're gonna keep this good energy going for these people, because it's, you know, it's tough coming on last in a open mic, right? You sit there fretting the whole time, like, by the time I get up there, nobody wanna hear shit I'm talking about. No, we are with you.
Save the best for last.
That's right. And that next to you is Jenny. Give it up for Jenny. That's cool. Don't worry. Don't worry, Jenny. We'll take care of this for you. I meant to say Ed Provost.
Okay. Let's see. You can use this. Hello. Okay, so this one it's based off of something that my space science teacher said that just really stuck with me. And I'm sure you'll get it as it's repeated multiple times. In less than a second, the pull of a strength unfathomable to any known science, an explosion we like to think we completely understand. Gravity always wins. The repulsive force, Newton's first law biting me in the ass, then finally, gravity always wins. The sharp, momentary pain of nociceptors doing their job, the leathery beginnings of a hideous scab being made from my own clotting blood, the damaged dermis going unnoticed. Gravity always wins. The biggest stars die the most spectacularly.
Perhaps if I'm big enough, if I can warp the interdimensional membrane enough to, maybe my death will poke a hole. Just like Carl Schwarzschild said, maybe I'll become a black hole, invoking a gravitational pull I couldn't have imagined, even if I'll never know. But nonetheless, gravity always wins.
We're down to the last two poets. This next poet is the San Francisco Writing Conference Writing Contest finalist. Good for you, man. Dylan Gibson.
Hi, I'm Dylan. I don't know if I'm close enough to the mic or not. I was going to do this originally, and then my mom was like, please do it. She's not even here, so I have my phone so she can see it. This is the poem that I did for the contest, so it's in here, and sometimes talking is hard for me, so if I stumble over words, that's just because that's how I talk. My mother drives her decades-old red Toyota pickup truck through a tunnel that shines a dull orange, and it takes a minute to get through. I try to hold my breath for the entire time. For luck, I cannot. A bright mist swirls around the vehicle as we pass through clumps of white houses adorned with moss, clotheslines hanging with garments of strangers. An old chapel with the roof as red as clay pierces through the fog, at a place and out of time, a guardian too old to protect anyone anymore. A dark lagoon stands still, glassy and severe as the road curves and the blurry gray beach comes into view. My mother kisses my head when we finally reach summer camp. A lady with dark hair and hiking boots leads me to other campers, and I am welcomed somewhere strange and new for the first time. I am 6 years old and I have never been happier. The dark-haired lady leads 15 rambunctious, tumbling, disorganized children to the beach, herding us away from the water's edge like lambs, as they shrilly ask why we can't touch the ink blue ocean. She stumbles with her words and tells us that this is the edge of the world, and I believe her. Bird bones scatter the lagoon like a morbid art piece bleached by the sun that seldom shows itself through the expanses of fog that wrap themselves around the hills like a frigid quilt. My eyes water from the piercing cold as I watch the great blue heron soar, a blurry petrichor. I can still see the color of smells back then, petrichor being gray and blue, through my gaze, flying into the mist. My ear presses to the trunk of the eucalyptus as I hear the faint trickle of water like a rain stick, course through the bark and into the ground, feeding climbing trails of poison oak and blackberry, growing burgundy. Summer is already fading towards fall. My new friend, a blonde girl who, like me, perpetually has sticks and leaves mad in her hair, tells me that we are both witches and that she sees ghosts floating through the thickets of coyote, brush, and cypress. I cry. I do not want to see ghosts. I am 10 years old. A deer rests in the fog, unspeaking. These trails mean nothing to her as she chews sage and coyote brush with her human-like teeth. And I find an odd sense of understanding within both of our sets of large eyes. I have doe eyes, my mother has told me. Eroding cliffs the color of coyote fur form a narrow path to an outlook where paw prints are permanently preserved on concrete outside an off-white lighthouse. Paint chipping, rusted and tired as the dim light inside it eternally glows. Power lines are overtaken by ivy, no longer climbing, but now resting amongst the wires, a nest for an osprey. I creep through tunnels amidst blackberry bushes, smelling sawdust and shrubbery, a smell I could never place for too many years. The clearing of the bush is my own nest. Abandoned batteries, concrete structures, an unnatural molted pelt of orange and neon green and chipping spray paint, being overtaken by a red and green ice plant, a plant never meant to be here at all, tendrils clinging to the walls for dear life, haunted almost, as if they'd ever been properly lived in to begin with. The March water flows unwavering from the lagoon to the sea, numbing my legs and fingers as I chase my cold friends who reek of seaweed and salt as I do now. I'm 14. Otters dart below the pond surface, racing through feathery reeds and brown cattails, only emerging to glance in my direction with beady eyes dark as the water itself. A clay-colored coyote leisurely saunters into the road, a silvery fish hanging out of his fanged mouth. He stares into my doe eyes, knowing something that I used to remember but can no longer place. He trots off into the forest. I feel my own ghost pacing under crumbling roofs, small and soft and unknowing. I hope that if I reach out, I'll somehow remember, no, regain, the unknowing and youth I left here, that these walls would stand forever unchanging. I'm now 17 years old. I'm not crying, the wind is just singing my eyes again. Thank you.
Bringing us home, Lisa Malik. You forgot what to do. There you go.
Hi everyone. This is a very dark poem, and I'm almost a little nervous to close out such a gorgeous night with this poem. It's about George Floyd and Lebanon. And I sat on this poem for about 2 years, realizing that it's not George Floyd I felt I couldn't talk about, it's Lebanon. So this is extremely hard for me to read, and I'm gonna do it. And I'm definitely a student of Patricia Smith. I don't know if you could tell after you hear this. It's called a process poem. I cannot look at the different angles of his face, confused, before they pinned him down. Squint, then grimace. I feel sorry to see the beginning. I wonder if Christ looked up the way George did at the sky, confused, perhaps away from darkness into light. Proverbs 6:12. A wicked man goes about with crooked speech, winks with his eyes, signals with his feet, smirks with his mouth, presses with his knee. All day I dream of saving George Floyd. Different scenes, but all feel the same. Arms lift weight off earth. They say soldiers cry out to their mothers as they die. Mom said nobody ever told Grandma how her son really died in Beirut. A machine gun blasted his insides out, she told me calmly. How do you know? Because I asked and I asked and I asked and never stopped until they told me. Mom seems healed. What are the parts of the neck? You have to know this. Death involved the neck. The nape is the back of the neck. Vital structures include cervical, spinal cord, vertebrae, vertebral discs, muscles, vertebral ligaments, nerves, blood vessels, pharynx. My mom knows the parts of the abdomen in alphabetical order. They are gallbladder, kidney, large intestine, liver, pancreas, small intestine, spleen, stomach. Mom seems healed. Thank you.
Please, a round of applause for all of the readers. For yourselves, for the San Francisco Writers Conference. Good night. Please, man, for the band.